of a riveting biopic known as Kalushi. Kalushi is one of the top nominated South African films in this year's Rapid Line Film Festival and will see its international debut at the South African Festival, which is set to take place on the 12th of March of this year. So make sure you have your tickets, make sure you go out and watch this film. But now we're joined in studio, of course, by the director of Kalushi, that's Mandla Dube, as well as actor Thabo Rametsi, just to take us through the movie. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
40 years after that powerful quote, Mandla, you decided that it was time to relive those moments, to relive what Solomon Mhlangu stood for. Why in 2016?
Well, thanks a lot for having us here. We appreciate it. And thanks to Rapid Lion, the film festival where Kalushi will be premiering, for asking us to be a part of their film festival. But this is not just a 2016 film start. It's been a 9-year journey. The concept of getting it made into a motion picture started 9 years ago when I was a lecturer at Wits University. And I came across the family of Solomon Mhlangu. I was introduced to them. And at the time, I had looked at how can we preserve our heritage in the convergence of technology and using film as a platform of commercializing our heritage. Yeah. And then that journey began. I went to the South African State Theatre to do it as a film, and they adopted it, and I did an exhibition with the Nelson Mandela Foundation. And then I also told myself, well, I'm not really a person who curates exhibitions or who does stage plays.
Right.
I'm my filmmaker. That's what I study. That's what my passion is. And then therein the journey began. And
as the journey began, you decided to name the film Kalushi as opposed to perhaps Solomon Mhlangu, the biopic, or Solomon Mhlangu, the film. Why Kalushi?
Well, it named itself that. And that's Solomon Mhlangu's name. That's his name that he was given upon coming from initiation. It's actually his grandfather's name as well. So it's a name that, it's his name. I didn't choose that name for that. It was just appropriate.
Wow, Thabo, welcome to AM News as well. Now, you play the role of Solomon Mhlangu. I have to say, big shoes to fill there.
Yeah.
I mean, what were some of the challenges that you had to, endure while preparing for this role?
I think, firstly, the biggest challenge I suffered was understanding the responsibility I had in playing a lead character in a South African story. Because believe it or not, that's a very rare occurrence where a South African actor plays that. So they could have easily gotten other actors from overseas to play it. So I had to do well, and knowing that I had to do well, I had to justify me being there. Because otherwise it justifies them using Morgan Freeman and all these other guys.
Right.
That was the first hurdle. But then also not knowing much about Solomon himself, I learned as much as the audience will learn in doing this film as they will in watching it as well. So it was a great deal of preparation.
Is it not a coincidence, perhaps, that this movie is coming out at a time whereby we're going through so many youth-related issues in the country? I'm talking about the youth language policy, the Fees Must Fall movement, Shackville, so many university students protesting around the country, sort of fighting for almost the same causes that Solomon was fighting for.
I mean, let's look at the history of art in South Africa in general. I think protest art has always been existent. We've seen with music. Our musicians were exiled, and that speaks a lot about what art and the roles it plays in South Africa. So definitely, it has a great deal to speak of the youth, and I think this is a film where the youth are going to identify that we're still fighting the same struggles. Maybe the enemies have changed in certain colors or whatever,
right,
but we're still fighting for the same reasons, for the same causes, and I think that we're all unified. And the youth of South Africa has always been the fighting force of this country and the reason for its change, and we celebrate it in Kalushi.
And Mandla, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add in with what Thabo was just saying. On our way here, we were just asking, what is the responsibility of artists? What is our social responsibility as artists? And it's very it's incumbent upon us to be able to realize that we are not just folks that pick up, you paint in a brush, or you do acting, or you're a writer and all of that. There's a certain morality that you also have to bring to what you do, and there's certain values that you have to be able to convey out there.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that it is our responsibility to be able to advocate and make sure that students go to school. They don't do that. We just put it out there. An artist's responsibility is just to mirror the society as is, and let the society decide. Which way to go, and it's our responsibility to do that. And we didn't. I swear to God, it was not by design to say we're gonna do this and then we're gonna time. Fees Must Fall is gonna happen.
Really?
No.
I refuse to believe that. There's no way. From the trailer that I just saw right now.
That's
Kid you
art
not.
imitating life, I think, in its purest form. And
Kid you not.
I think this whole form has been blessed in that. And I think maybe this is the spirit of the Solomon Mahlangus and the Robert Sobukis saying to themselves, listen, we sacrificed a great deal for this. Remember what we fought for. This is what, and then through art, we're reminding people, like, this is what people fought for.
Yeah.
And that's a great, it's a celebration. This is not a film, it's a celebration. This is not an apartheid film also. We need to get that out the way.
Yeah.
This is a story of the human spirit. And for the first time, South African directors, producers, actors, the entire cast are telling their own story. And now you're going to see it from our eyes. And here, for the first time, the events are not bigger than the people. It is about the people, it is about the characters and the families that were displaced by these things, and why these families are still existing right now and fighting for the same causes.
Interesting. Well, gentlemen,
Well,
yeah.
sorry, I was going to say, well, if we had set out to say we're going to tell a story about the, apartheid era and all of that, it wouldn't have worked. It's a human story, and a hero's journey is global. Anybody that experiences challenges in life and is able to overcome them is going to be a person that becomes immortal at some point, especially if they are, encapsulated in an art form of this nature. And that's what I think Solomon Mahlangu has become with the words that he left us with. He has become an immortal being. And I say this all the time, that 5,000 to 10,000 years from now, there will be no Nkandla, there will be no union buildings or something like that. There will be stories.
Yeah.
And this is one of the stories that we are blessed to tell.
Sure. Gentlemen, I wish I had more time with you, but unfortunately it brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you so much, Mandla Dube, the director of the Kalushi film, and yourself, Thabo Rametsi. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Well, that was the director of film Kalushi, Mandla Dube, and actor Thabo Rametsi talking to us about the film that depicts the life of Solomon Mahlangu. And with that said, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we have your headlines, of course, at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
SABC News. We report, contextualize and present news and current affairs honestly, fairly and fully. We consider it a duty to provide consistent, relevant, useful and top quality information and analysis. Our mission is to provide credible, accurate and interesting news programming, bringing news into everyone's homes in everyone's languages. Thank you, South Africa, for relying on SABC News for quality news output and for making us your #1 source of information. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Preparing for victory requires intense effort and teamwork. When you get to it, there is no turning back, because all eyes are on you. When it's action time, nothing should stand in your way. Sports Live tackles and analyzes all the sport action. This is the home of all your sport news, updates and more. Sports Live weekdays at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to AM News right here on SABC News. We've reached, of course, our second hour into our bulletin, and we'll be with you until 12:30, of course, updating you on the latest news making headlines. And we're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa, of course, broadcasting to the rest of the African continent. My name is Dumelo Mototwane. However, I'm not alone.